This congregation has endured many inside baseball sermons from me in the last 6 months. Real policy wonky stuff, polity that I care a lot about and the association cares a lot about, but some of us might not really care about. So I just want to extend my gratitude to this congregation for listening to all of the things I had to say about what's going on in the UUA in the last 6 months or year, or even last summer, I was giving policy wonky sermons. GA is coming up in a week and a half. We're going to vote on the changes to Article 2. And at that point, depending on the results, you should get a break from these policy wonky sermons. I'm reading off an iPad this morning, so pardon me if I struggle just a little bit. In the charge to the Article 2 Study Commission, the UUA board urged the commission to center their work in love. Their task was tremendous: to revise our Article 2, the section of UU polity that covenants our member congregations. The task at hand to usher Unitarian Universalism into the second half of the 21st century. Our religion is unique because it is a living faith. While our sources and inspirations are ancient, we consider ourselves, the collective body, to be actively participating in continual transformation. This transformation is embedded in our bylaws, which direct us to review and, if necessary, revise our association's covenant every 15 years. We are now charged to meet the moment, orienting our purpose to our present. In times of great need and ethical, moral, and spiritual crisis, Unitarian Universalism calls us to respond with our whole selves. We are living in such times. Our beloved community must decide how we will show up. Will we rise to meet this moment, or will we fade into obscurity? Reverend Sherman Logan is a UUA board member and the senior minister at the Church of Richmond. In his sermon on Article 2, he explained that there is nothing sacred about the number of UU principles, their order, or their wording. We're not talking about the 10 Commandments, he declared, rousing a few mild chuckles from his flock. Our covenant is not immutable. Unitarian Universalists deeply value lived experience, and that means we must be open to change. Some UUs might claim we are the only religion who truly desires change, though our human nature, which craves stability and sameness, would likely disagree. Reverend Logan counsels that indeed it is impossible to learn and to grow and not change. And we have learned and grown quite a lot in the 36 years since we last updated our collective covenant. And for a little bit of perspective, I will turn 36 in 2 years, in two weeks. In 2 weeks, I'll turn 36. So I don't even know if I was born. My birthday is June 26th. I'm not even quite certain I was alive the last time our Article 2 was updated. Of course, with any change comes grief. But after grief, after change comes transformation. We must not remain static. We must not cling to the status quo if we are going to be active participants in the transformation our world so desperately needs. For those of us who first came to and embraced Unitarian Universalism because of the 7 principles, we must come to terms with this change. But I need you to rest assured that the 7 principles are not going away. In fact, in many ways, removing them from Article 2, a section of our polity where revision is periodically required, preserves them. No one from the association is going to show up and demand we remove our rainbow banners from the sanctuary. We are not erasing the 7 principles. We are clarifying and transforming our collective call to meet this moment. There were 6 members of the Article 2 Study Commission. In 6 people, the UUA board achieved significant diversity. Half were lifelong Unitarian Universalists, and the other half were converts. Of the 6, 2 were under the age of 18 when the work began over 2 years ago. 3 were people of color, and 3 were LGBTQ. They included the organizer of the 8th Principle Project, a religious educator, and the first Black woman to be president of the UU Ministers Association. And the organizer of the 8th Principle and the UU Ministers Association president are the same person. The UUA board desired to assemble a group that could grow to know each other deeply, building trust amongst them, so when disagreements arose, they would remain engaged in good faith. Together, they asked the question, if we were writing Article 2 today, what would it say? And then they expanded their conversation for nearly 3 years now, engaging UUs across the country before proposing this shift from principles to values. With love at the center, the Study Commission is urging UUs to build communities on foundations of justice, interdependence, equity, generosity, pluralism, and transformation. Now, if you read the 7 principles, or if you're one of the very few small minority who has them memorized, you'll notice they contain no verbs. The preamble within Article 2 goes, we, the member congregations, covenant to affirm and promote. Affirm and promote, frankly, are weak words. The times we are living in do not need our affirmation or promotion. The Black Lives Matter movement doesn't care if we affirm it. The Black Lives Matter movement needs us to show up, white allies to the front, our bodies and our money where our platitudes are now, protecting and uplifting and ushering in justice for our Black siblings. The fight against gun violence does not need our promotion. It needs our amplified voices filling the halls of our state governments, insisting that the bloodshed cease. Our efforts to curb climate change certainly will not be won with either affirmation or promotion. Our efforts must be grounded in action, our own and the actions of that we insist come from the biggest polluters, corporations, and the powers that be that turn a blind eye. We must demand that they cease their greedy ways and do what they must to save humanity. Justice, interdependence, generosity, equity, and transformation all require action. They demand our strongest verbs. They require us to amplify, to revolutionize, to weave, and to expand. I've heard it said that the 7 principles explain why we are Unitarian Universalists. The values explain how we are Unitarian Universalists. At this point, in this moment, I am clear on my why, and I no longer feel the need to explain. Let's forget for a moment about elevator speeches and explanations about what in the world a UU is anyway. Let's show the world with our actions who we are. We can and should aspire to be even more radically loving, welcoming all people who share our values, fighting for justice and equity, living generously in a pluralistic, consistently transforming, beloved community. We are the church of the open mind, the loving heart, and the helping hand. We counsel our children. And yet, we have long lacked accountability. Accountability to one another, accountability to our causes, accountability to the world. We have leaned too heavily on the right to individual conscience, losing touch with what I believe is the most critical aspect of our religion, the fact of our interdependence. We have fallen into traps of petty disagreement and static inaction. The values contain built-in accountability. Are we generous? Prove it. Are we pluralistic? Show it. Are we open to continual transformation? Are we really? Rob Spirko, a member of the Article 2 Study Commission, in a sermon delivered to the UU Church of Nashville, called Unitarian Universalists to be prophets in our modern era. In his words, we live in a changing time, and prophecy comes from people who take active roles in shaping history, not getting shoved around by it. Spirko explains that prophecies always begin in lamentation, a moment decrying the horrors of the world, and they end in hope and resurrection. Read any psalm and the formula fits. In tumultuous times, we begin in despair, and our hope and our faith in something bigger than ourselves compels us towards transformation and new life. We are being called to answer the moment. We are being called forth to change, to revolution, from lamentation to hope. We are being called to be prophets of a new era. Enough, enough, enough with over-intellectualizing, enough with wordsmithing, enough with hesitation because it isn't perfect yet. Let us be what the world needs us to be now. As Spirko preached in Nashville, our faith is calling us to be more accepting, more accountable, more forgiving, more anti-racist, more anti-oppressive in general, more inclusive, more committed to preserving the natural world. Let's be more. At General Assembly, we will vote on the revisions to Article 2. Passing these proposed changes allows us 1 year to try them out, to teach these values in our RE classrooms, to march with these values imbued in each step, to empower our boards and our councils to root our congregational business in these values. Spirko implores us to see what these changes enable, what transformation they beckon. Can these values guide our loving actions? Can they spark new conversations in the public square? Can they demonstrate to those who aren't yet Unitarian Universalists what this wacky, free-thinking religion is all about? Maybe, but only if we give them a chance. In 2009, proposed changes to Article 2 were voted down during GA by only 13 votes. We lost our opportunity then to meet the moment. Let's not do that again. Let's lean into transformation. Let's lean into becoming more. Let's lean into and answer the call of love. Let's take this leap and let's become, in this moment, what the world needs us to be.